Hello and welcome to Just a Sharp Scratch. My name is Martin Davey, I'm your host. But before we start in today's podcast, I just want to give you guys a little bit of an update of what's been going on. So the first thing with some exciting news is the NHS 10-year plan. So I've been invited to take part in the upcoming work shaping the kind of future of nursing associates role. So this is where we'll be kind of focusing on areas like career progression, system recognition, and making sure that NAs are properly embedded and valued across the NHS. It is early days, but it's a huge step forward, and I'll be keeping you updated as developments happen. Secondly, don't forget to enter our latest giveaway. We've been partnered with the Clinical Pocket Reference, and this is where we've been given 5 copies of this brilliant nursing associate guide. So to enter, head over to our Facebook or Instagram page, follow us, tag a friend in the comments. Winners will be announced on the 21st of July. Now, on to today's guest. I'm chatting with Alison Jessup, a former reception teacher turned nursing associate, who is now also an ambassador for the role in Nottinghamshire. Alison shares her journey, the challenges of changing careers, and the huge value NA brings to the primary care. Let's get into it. Hello and welcome back to Just a Sharp Scratch, the podcast that puts nursing associates right in the front and centre. I'm here today and I'm joined by someone whose journey is very, very special and impacts the potential of this role. So the early education to long-term condition management in primary care. It's a story packed with passion, progression and purpose. Ali, it's brilliant to have you here.
Thank you very much for having me. Looking forward to it.
Oh, it's absolutely my pleasure. So, right, before we kind of get into your story, let's kind of break the ice with a little bit of fun. So, Ali, could you pick a number between 1 and 200, and that number will give us a random icebreaker question and something to light us and to get us started.
I'll go for 15, please.
15. Oh, that's good because it's right near the front. So here we go. So your question is, what is the one thing you've always wanted to try?
Oh, gosh. I've always wanted to try wild water swimming, but I never have. Yeah. I'm not very good in freezing cold sea, but
right.
I feel like with a wetsuit, I'd quite like to do it. I've not plucked up the courage yet, but maybe watch this space. It could be something that I could challenge myself with, I suppose.
Exactly. Yeah, that could be something. So would you look at kind of like doing river kind of
Yeah,
canal
there's some local
swimming?
lakes and rivers, and I look at it and think, yeah, I'll have a new challenge, but then I'm kind of chicken out and don't do anything about it. So maybe that's my project for the summer.
No, that would go great. And I kind of answer this question as well, because I think it's fair. So the one thing I've always wanted to try, I think probably I would like to do the kind of shark diving, but in the cage. I think that's the thing I'd want to kind of,
That's another step beyond.
Yeah. I've swam with a lot of sharks, but it wasn't to do with water. But I think that would be the one thing. Because I used to be petrified of sharks. And it wasn't until I moved and watched a documentary about killer whales, a well-known documentary. And I've mentioned this before and probably in another podcast. But since realizing how clever they are, the list of kind of great white sharks has kind of gone down and killer whales have gone up. I'd rather...
Yeah, you've changed tack.
Pretty much, yeah. I feel more comfortable being in a cage with a great white shark than swimming with killer whales, even though I know there's probably never been any issue with them. But for me, it's just the fact they're more clever than I am. That's probably what it is.
Well, maybe we could both go away and do our challenges and then come back and debrief.
Yeah, pretty much. And it's amazing how it deals with water.
Yeah.
There we go. Brilliant.
Yeah, it must say something about us.
It definitely does. We like swimming in deep water. Right, before we get ourselves into deep water, let's crack on with the show. Right, so let's start at the kind of beginning. You were a kind of reception teacher before stepping into healthcare. So what inspired you to kind of make a bold career change?
Well, I've always felt strongly that I wanted to do something that I was very passionate about. And early years education was something that I was really passionate about. And I absolutely loved working with all the parents, the children and my colleagues that I worked with in a fair few schools in my time. But I think when education became a bit more prescriptive and a bit less fun, then it wasn't appealing so much. And then about the same time, I had Luke and Emma, who are now 17 and 19. And I found that I was getting my own share of chaos and fun at home. And I was lucky enough to be able to take time out to bring them up. And then I had a change of location and moved back to Southall, which is my hometown, and actually went for an appointment with the nursing team, got talking to somebody that I previously knew, and there was a job going to train as a phlebotomist, and that's where my new career started. So it was purely because it was kind of down the road, it was convenient for children, and it appeared to me from that caring point of view. But it wasn't something that I'd actually thought about hugely before. But yeah, it went on from there.
And like I said, you spent kind of over a decade as a healthcare assistant, before qualifying. How did you kind of that shape that kind of nursing associate for you to become? Actually, I'll start again. Waffling away.
I know what you
Right.
mean.
Yeah. So you spent over a decade as a healthcare assistant before qualifying. How did that shape the kind of nursing associate that you've become?
So yeah, I started out in phlebotomy, and then I trained as a healthcare assistant. And then it was during an appraisal with my nurse manager at the time, who was called Alexa, Ask Alexa. And she
I love that.
suggested, yeah, it's
Do you know
very
what?
good.
My Alexa literally went off then.
Yeah, it does when I'm talking at home about her.
Yeah.
She was my inspiration and still is. And she persuaded me to go for the NA role. And I was very lucky to work with a very highly skilled and inspirational team who were very focused on that patient-centred care. I was very curious, some people say nosy, and wanted to find out everything. So finding out, working with the team about the knowledge of all the patients and working with the patients, it taught me the importance of moving from that kind of task focused role more to that holistic, patient-centred, compassionate care. And working with my nursing team, as I say, were highly inspirational, and they taught me that empathy and intuition is key in terms of making those informed decisions in nursing.
Am I right in thinking that you qualified this in January 2024?
Yes, I did.
Yes. Well,
Yeah.
congratulations. So what does a typical day look like for you at Southwell Medical Centre?
It's really busy and really varied. Probably if I pick a day, it would make more sense to go through it. So if I think about Monday, just gone, so my morning was very much our bloods are collected at lunchtime, which makes the mornings and the afternoon clinics very different, which is really nice because it gives that variation, which makes the day go quicker. And the morning was very much chronic disease reviews because of associated phlebotomy. So things like asthma, heart failure reviews, hypertension, and all the following up or escalation that goes alongside that. I was setting up 24-hour ECGs, managing and booking those clinics as well, and downloading and sending off and all those bits and pieces. I had 2 big leg ulcer dressings, which following the care plan initiated by the nursing team, the registered nurses. And one of those actually on Monday involved a referral to the social prescribing link workers, and also the other one I needed to escalate to the GP for antibiotics. So there was a lot going on, very busy.
Very busy.
We had a meeting at lunchtime with the nursing team discussing dressings, and we had a bit of an update. We have a fortnightly meeting to go through the bigger dressings and just update ourselves on care plan, make sure we know who's had a Doppler, who's taken photos, etc., and just have a bit of a chat about it and a debrief and see, whether we need a change of tack. And then after lunch, it was an afternoon with childhood immunisations alongside the practice nurse. So managing and booking the next appointment, educating the parent about those immunisations and what to expect, as well as, the kind of looking after the parents, because I know what it's like to be a parent bringing your little 8-week-old in for the first jabs.
I know,
and all
mine's
that.
coming up soon. Well, not my
Yeah.
jabs. I've had them. But my little one, she's due to have hers soon. So it's like,
Yeah, and it's never easy, and I think you need to remember that, take yourself back to those days and stand in their shoes, because you might be doing it every day, but for them it's a big deal. Preschool immunisations as well. So we make sure we're got loads of certificates and stickers and make that a really positive experience when they come to see the nursing team. A few immunisations, so things like shingles, pneumonia, and the education that goes alongside that. And then I think I finished up on Monday with some pre-diabetic lifestyle appointments as well, and coaching in terms of that. So yeah, a very, very busy day.
Very incredible. And that's just a Monday.
That was just Monday, yeah.
The rest of the day, just relax. It's GP surgery.
Went home
We're not that busy at all in
just
GP land. No. That's why I'm going grey. It really
Yeah.
is. So, like I
me
said,
too, but have it died.
so you've carved out a very specialism in asthma and COPD and the long-term condition reviews. So what are the kind of key challenges and rewards kind of working in this area as a nursing associate?
I like to see the challenges as a bit of a the rewarding part, because I always think every day's a school day. So the bit that I really enjoy is when you come up against something that you might not have found out about before, finding out about that, either with colleagues or with the patient in terms of education. So I like to see the challenges as a chance to make a difference. So I think the biggest challenges with long-term condition patients, particularly in Southwell where I work, we've got a lot of aging population, the demographic. So we've got a lot of complex patients with multiple comorbidities. So for instance, you might get somebody who comes in for their asthma review, but you've previously seen them for heart failure, and the breathlessness is not, it's not cut and dried, and then they might roll the trouser leg up and reveal a leg ulcer that they've, just been
Had for a couple of months
after at home. So it's that balance, I think, the holistic patient-centered compassionate care that you want to deliver, and that time management and workload. And the fact that, you've got a clinic to run. We've got a really, really good team who are very supportive. So we all help each other out. But still, you've got, at the end of the day, you've still got that time management. But alongside that, the rewards of it, if you can turn things around and improve the health outcomes of that patient by looking at them holistically from a patient-centered view. So taking the time to educate the patients, and so they understand how they can self-manage the conditions, and then any referrals as well that can go alongside that, because if we've not got the time to educate, there'll be referrals that could support that. So for instance, if I was doing COPD, the pulmonary rehab team, or things like the social prescribing link worker, that there might be some issues at home that aren't directly involved with health, but if they were sort of for the patient, could improve the health outcomes long term.
Yeah. And I suppose, like I said, even with the kind of lifestyle coaching is another part of your kind of role, and that links in with the kind of long-term health conditions. So how do you kind of approach this important conversation with patients about making these kind of healthy changes? Because, that can be quite a difficult conversation to have.
Yeah, it can. Yeah, it's one bit that I really enjoy, actually. I've tried out lots of different ways and been on lots of courses and watched, different people have different conversations on placements. And I was lucky enough to have an insight day at Kingsmill Hospital, and they asked to work with the drugs and alcohol team. So that was really useful in terms of those difficult conversations. So leading on from the self-management and improving outcomes, I think listening's the key thing, to get as much information from that patient, find out what motivates them, and probably most importantly, what doesn't motivate them. If it's no good harping on about a gym referral if they absolutely hate the gym. What's the point in that? So I always tend to start asking them if there's anything that they would like to change, anything that they've been thinking about, or anything they want to get out from the appointment. And then having that conversation, setting some small achievable goals, and not looking at trying to achieve everything all in one go. So it might be just to increase exercise and then follow up. And I think the accountability, they like being accountable. So even if it's a follow-up phone call, or you get them in to be weighed if it's a weight issue, or just to support them and look at what they can set their goals at next. I recently had a learning disability patient in who was hypertensive in his 40s, and he loved horse riding, but he wasn't able to ride his favourite horse because he put on too much weight. So he came in with his support worker, and it was I didn't want to bombard him. So we set very small goals, and one of them was coming off his Xbox after an hour and going out for a walk every time he was asked. And then we caught up after a month and then set a few more, and he started on that path to losing weight. So, and I always talk to patients because I've got too much energy, really. I get told off for being overexcitable on a Monday morning. I'm fit and active, and I love being outside. I was brought up, fresh air and exercise solves everything. And I always say to patients, even if you go out for 10 minutes, it's 10 minutes more than you were doing before. Go for a 10-minute walk, whether you go out for 10 minutes, 20 minutes or an hour, it's more than you were doing last week. And then following up and saying, how did you feel? We've just spent, myself and my partner, Mikey, have been in the Peak District walking Kinder Scout at the weekend. And it's just amazing, just being out there under the trees, on top of a mountain, putting one foot in, putting one foot in front of the other. And you never regret exercising, and being outside is like a double whammy, isn't it, for mental health as well as physical health.
Yeah,
but I think listening to the patient and taking the time, and that genuineness, that you're bothered, that's the key to, isn't it?
Because one of the things I always ask is what are you struggling with? What is the concept? What are the things that you're finding hard about this condition, or anything like that? And I think that's the key, because we always try to say, well, try do this, try this, try do that. But it's very much asking them, what is it the one thing that you're finding hard with it? Is it the kind of having to take insulin? Is it the kind of diet side of things? Knowing what you can and can't eat? Because especially when you're newly diagnosed, you instantly just turn into this kind of can't touch sugar, can't do nothing, literally just cut everything out. And it's literally, because you just think that's what you need to do. But it's just having those little kind of conversations saying, actually, no, here we go, we can educate you, we can support. And I think that's what's great about the nursing associate role, is being able to have that time to have that educational talk with our patients and kind of support them in that way. And, I think being that ambassador, which kind of leads me great on to the next question, which is very much that you're obviously a nursing associate ambassador for Nottinghamshire. So what does that kind of role involve, and why is championing the NA pathway so important to you?
Yeah, so I actually began as an ambassador just before I qualified. It was advertised for someone who was qualified, and I registered. And I contacted them and said, "Would you consider, a very soon to be registered?" And then I got the role. So it's just one afternoon a week, but I'm really, really enjoying it. So my role I see as connecting together via the training hub and via WhatsApp groups and our network of nursing associates in primary care across Nottinghamshire, supporting those nursing associates to develop their careers. And obviously everyone's at a completely different point on their journey, championing the role and being enthusiastic about the role when people might be feeling a bit flat and a bit deflated, looking at the positives and what, picking people back up, developing an understanding of the role, not just for colleagues, but also for patients. And recruitment and retainment is a big part of the role as well. And it's important to me because the recent conference that we talked about tribes, didn't we? And I think, as a nursing team and a wider team in primary care, you're all part of a tribe. We all like to be part of a tribe. My teenagers like to be part of a tribe. And it's having those shared goals and that support network and that passion to fight for the nursing associate identity. And I think, you've got a wealth of experience as a registered professional now, but you're skilled clinically as well as a knowledge of your patients, and it's about fighting for that identity and what you believe in and not stopping that fight.
That's very, very true. And one of the things you touched on was around kind of the recruitment side of things. I think for you, for kind of, especially when working in general practice and stuff like that, can you kind of tell us how the recruitment for nursing associates in GP practices, and can you tell us a bit more about that, really?
Yeah. So in terms of recruitment, I spend a lot of time talking to practices who've got HCAs who are interested in doing the course, and I talk to them about the different routes through, what they need, and a bit of a fact finding mission. Sometimes that's directly with the HCA, sometimes with the nurse manager, sometimes with the practice manager, and then sometimes with all three. So it's just a bit of a port of call. And then obviously when the HCAs fill in the application form in, I say, if you've got any questions, just ask, and prior to interview and bits and pieces. And then more recently, I've gone back into Nottingham Trent University, where I studied, to work with my colleagues, because it became very apparent when I was on the course that it's very secondary led.
Right.
Not just the actual course content, but also the assessments. So, for instance, the Meds Management OSCE was a award round. So I've spent a lot of time going in and talking about the curriculum, about how it could be tweaked to make it more primary focused as well for the cohort, the students in primary care, and just how raising that awareness. And I'm trying next year to go in the September and the January cohorts when they first go in, to just talk and do a presentation about, raise the awareness of the opportunities in GP land. The Monday to Friday is a definite pull. Obviously, some
Definitely.
extended access, but
always mention the Christmas. Don't have to run the Christmas roulette.
Yeah, absolutely. And also to promote the training hub role and the network, and just talk about, all the different opportunities that there are, because I think there's not much opportunity for placement and insight visits in primary care, which is another bee in my bonnet at the moment that I'm trying to look at. Because if nursing associates are working in secondary care, placements are few and far between. So looking at trying to get some more insight visits, even if it's just a day to work, a day in the life of a nursing associate.
Yeah.
And
if only there was a YouTube channel that was coming up to kind of highlight that kind of role.
Well, absolutely, it would be amazing, wouldn't it?
It would be. So, which would be good, because then we can talk about the kind of big kind of misconceptions about nursing associates in primary care. So, how do you kind of tackle those kind of misunderstandings and stuff like that?
I think the biggest one for me is that it's seen a bit of as a stepping stone to becoming a real nurse, or on the opposite side, that you're taking advantage of as a cheap nurse.
Yeah.
They're the things that really wind me up. So I think, a lot of it is lack of awareness, because it's not a new role. But if your practices haven't had a nursing associate in practice, then they won't know day to day what it looks like. So I think education, there's a running theme here, isn't there? It started off as a teacher. So, yeah, educating colleagues, patients.
Giving them homework.
Yeah. And wider teams. I've worked with the training hub to produce posters and presentations and recorded sessions, just to get it out there. What is the role? How can you make the most of the nursing associate role in practice, and what can it bring? And then also, I'm currently working on some guidelines, and this is something that I feel strongly is needed, but because it can be very organisational led, it needs to be useful in a broader sense, if that makes sense. So looking at the roles and responsibilities from healthcare assistant, nursing associate and registered nurse, how to make use of the flexibility of the nursing associate role and the skill set that you have in your teams to ultimately benefit the patients. So that's something that I'm working on at the moment. But yeah, I think the lack of awareness, I think that's the biggest thing, and it's just looking at ways outside the box that you can address that.
Very much so. It's crazy to think about, since it's been announced back in 2017, and we're still now. I had a med student sat with me and today, and I even went, "Do you know what a nursing associate is?" And just complete blank. No, haven't heard of it. Yeah. And you're like, wow, it's 2025. At what point, do we go? I know what's going to happen the day that I retire. When I'm 87, because obviously that's the way it was going to be. By the time you get your pension, that's when I'll probably ask someone, "Do you know what a nurse associate?" And they go, "Oh yeah, it's one of those."
Oh, yeah,
and you're like, "Oh, there we are. Now I got there.
Light
Brilliant.
bulb.
I can sort it out." Oh yeah, that thing. Yeah, it's so frustrating to be able to do, and it's hopefully, like I said, doing this one podcast at a time, and things coming up in the future just to kind of highlight the amazing work that you all do as nursing associates. It's going to be brilliant.
And it's definitely fighting and banging the drum about it, isn't it?
Up on the hill when we go, we have to go hiking.
Kinder Scout.
Exactly. So, looking back on your apprenticeship, are there any kind of like placements or moments that really kind of stood out and helped you kind of shape your journey into your role now?
I love my apprenticeship. I love academic work.
Too.
Yeah, and then I absolutely loved the placements. But I think something that I share every time I speak to any student nurse associates is something that on my first hospital placement, which was at Newark Hospital on Minster Day Case Unit. And it was very varied. They did gynae, dermatology, urology, orthopedics. I worked with a nurse, and the first thing I said was, I've never worked in a hospital. I know absolutely nothing. So can I work with the healthcare assistants and get to know the basics?
Yeah.
And then we'll, then look at, and then I'll be ready to go.
Yeah.
Start with what I'm comfortable with. And she said to me, just make the most of every opportunity on placement, because you will never get these opportunities again. And it really stuck with me. And I did I did my first enema.
Well, hey.
Yeah, on that placement.
Explosive, as long as it wasn't explosive.
She just said, right, this is yours. Went, oh, yeah, great, thank you. So an eye injection operation. I had scrubs on going down to theatre for a plasma injection. And yeah, it just really opened my eyes to, you really have to put yourself out there. And I think it's having the confidence then to embrace those placements and say, can I go and see this? And following patients up. My last placement was on gynecology at King's Mill. So, following a patient, taking them down to theatre, and then when they come back up and just seeing the whole journey. And then, as I mentioned before, taking some days for insight visits and going to see things that you've always wanted to see while you've got the opportunity. So if there's any student nursing associates out there, get every opportunity you can on your placements. Massively important.
I was always that person. I always say to them, always ask those questions, why and what if, be that 2-year-old again. Why have you decided to kind of add this medication? Why are you doing that blood test? Just not because you're being rude. It's just very much because you want to understand how they've got to that decision, that this is the route that we want to go to. And, I said with me in the education side of things, I loved my apprenticeship. I hated education. I was appalling when I was in secondary school, didn't want to be there, didn't want to do college, wanted just straight to work. But for me, this was the first time that I actually, because I chose to do it, I was more committed to being on that course and doing the assignments. I loved the assignments, which is weird. I used to hate it before.
Well, they made total sense, didn't they? Because it was about what you were putting into practice. So you were like you say, you were like desperate to know more and more and more, and it's that curiosity or nosiness, isn't it, that gets you.
And you got an understanding as well of why the nursing team were thinking what they were doing and why they were making those decisions, because of the evidence-based practice that you never really thought about before. Because like I said, I was very much task orientated. So it definitely kind of helped.
And I learned, doesn't it?
Yeah, and I learned a lot from my placements, and I think you do. I think that's where you actually learn the skills you become and what you do. It's great to go to university to learn the kind of back knowledge of it all, but the actual physical side of what your role is going to be like, and learning how to do IM in medications and stuff like that, how to do, I remember being on my placement and the lady showing me how to do the upper route, and I was like, no one's taught me that before. Oh, brilliant. Which really helped me when I had to then do the IM medication course and stuff like that for part of the thing. So brilliant.
And I think, Martin, on placements as well, you learn very much about the people that inspire you and the kind of nurse that you want to be. And also on the flip side, the ones that you don't want to be. And if there's anyone that comes, I always say to students that, might be feeling a bit deflated if someone's not supported, because as a tribe, we seem to attack our own, and I don't know why, which is really sad. But I always say, well, take from it, what you can, look at it positively, because you will never do that to a student. And, if you're going to supervise a student, you'll be the one that stands by them and sticks up for them and wants them to be the best they can. So, and you have to turn it round on its head sometimes, don't you?
Very, very much so. Yeah, and I'm a bit more kind of looking after the nursing associate, student nurses, nursing associates when they come in, because you're like, no, they're my little babies.
Yeah,
I've got to
they're
look
my
after them,
babies.
protect them. Yeah, very, very much so.
I've
Right.
walked in their shoes.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So, what's been one of the most kind of fulfilling moments for you so far as a qualified nursing associate?
I think the improving patient outcomes through education and sharing of knowledge is the bit that I've enjoyed most and got the most fulfillment from. And, gaining people's confidence. Obviously, working as a HCA for over a decade, I've got a knowledge of the patients, which always helps. I know the community. I know what's available in the community to support patients, and developing that therapeutic relationship over time is really fulfilling. And I see my role really as giving the patient the tools to take the power to improve their health. So whether it's losing weight, whether it's reducing HbA1c results, or self-managing things like almost healed leg ulcers, sorry,
Yeah.
adding clinic in on the end. It's all about sharing your knowledge and education with the patient so that they can then use those tools to improve things. And when you see somebody who's losing weight and feeling good about themselves, or somebody that was pre-diabetic and has come out of that pre-diabetic range, or somebody comes in and says, can I give you these dressings back? And you have to say, no, just
Nope.
pop them in your cupboard.
Yeah. For a rainy day, you might
Yeah,
need them
for a
again.
rainy day, because my leg's healed. It's those moments, isn't it? It's those that make it all worthwhile.
Very much so. Right. I'm going to have to pause there because I've just got a message from my wife and I will edit this out. But she needs some hot water for the milk. She's like, I'm so sorry. You're in a podcast. I said, that's
Classic.
okay. Exactly. So I'll leave it recording. You can always go and grab yourself a cup of tea because I'm about to put the kettle on. So
Okay.
I'll be 2 seconds.
Okay.
We should probably keep this in because it's hilarious. The fact that I'm going to go and do
Would
this.
make
Right.
it
I'll
good.
be 2 seconds.
I'll do a song or something.
It's one of those things they say you should never work with animals and children. I don't know if you could hear
Sometimes
any.
you can't help it.
No. I don't know if you could hear, but sometimes there's been some tapping, like someone's knocking. I don't know if you've ever heard that. They might be, but basically, I've got chickens knocking on my door. I can see them through the glass door. Yeah, trying to get my attention, and I'm like, great.
They want to be on the podcast
They do. They could become just a sharp scratch, like kind of mascots.
in real life.
Yeah, chicken ones. These outtakes are going to be hilarious. Right, professional. That's what we are.
Absolutely.
Right. And I like this one. I was looking forward to asking you this question. If you had the full attention of NHS kind of leaders for 60 seconds, what would you want them to understand about the value of nursing associates in general practice?
I'd have a conversation about how we all ultimately want to improve things, improve patient care, improve health outcomes, and reduce workload pressure. And then I would talk about how we need to be fully utilising the NA role to retain staff and recognising the NA role as the valuable asset that it is. We've got great expertise, hands-on experience, and passion for patient-centred care. And then looking at how NAs can expand their responsibilities and work still within their scope of practice, but having a consistent way that we can achieve that. Because I think everybody's kind of scurrying away, reinventing the wheel. And I think we need some consistency with, where else you can go to further your career and not just becoming a registered nurse. So the same sort of things as you're fighting for, Martin, which I'm sure is, universal for nursing associates. And it's great that you've got, you're our voice.
No, to be honest with you, I'm inspired by you all, and I think that's the reason why that the petition and stuff that's still live. Still, we'll put in a link in a bio for people to have a read and to sign. Because, like I said, and today, people that wanted to become nursing associates, they wanted to make a difference. They wanted to be able to help the NHS, to help the private sector, to help every kind of area that involves patient care, really. And I think just listening to kind of the heartaches that they've got regarding the kind of role itself and what's kind of coming after it, it's now time to kind of time for change, as we say.
Time for change.
The countdown to change. That's what we're doing. Brilliant. So lastly, what's kind of next for you, Ali? Any kind of personal or professional goals that you're kind of looking forward to in 2025?
Professionally, I've qualified now for my ARTP, so I've just started doing spirometry clinics. So
Brilliant.
I've had my first 2 patients in the last 2 weeks. So that's really, I'm loving that. And I'm looking at streamlining the service and different ways of diagnostic testing. We're really lucky in practice. We've got a respiratory lead nurse who's going to be doing her interpretation. So I'm going to be working with her. So that's really exciting. And then really working with the nursing team and the wider team as well, in terms of looking at, projects, quality improvement projects, a bit like when we were doing our course, to improve efficiency and explore different ways of working, so that these, in terms of workload pressure and time management, that we're really streamlining everything, I suppose. I'm really interested in doing some group lifestyle coaching. So often I have conversations with patients about, statins versus lifestyle, if they've got a raised cholesterol result or a Q risk, cardiovascular disease, higher risk. And I kind of have the same sort of conversations, obviously tailored, but I really feel that it would be useful to have some group sessions for things like that, for pre-diabetic, for diabetic patients, so that they can talk to each other as well. So they can get support from each other, create another tribe maybe.
Yeah.
And then alongside that, in terms of the self-management and putting the onus back on the patient as well, that with our education and our, overseeing, that you can help, start to self-manage your health and making a difference to yourself and the things that you can control. So things like working with the nurses on care plans for leg ulcers, and just looking at different ways so we can involve patients more with their care, so they've got the underpinning knowledge and they've got the confidence to make a change themselves, but with us in the background being the cheerleaders.
Amazing. Love it. Love it. Love it. So one final thing before we have to go, sadly, every guest adds a song to our Just a Sharp Scratch Spotify playlist. It could be something meaningful, motivational, or just a kind of feel-good favourite. What would you like us to add for you?
I'd like you to add Let's Go by Calvin Harris. It's a song that I like to fast forward to if my legs are aching on my run, as a bit of a finisher. And also, it's every morning I get up, I never ever dread going to work. I always want to go, and I'm thinking, right, what have we got? What's the day ahead? What challenges have we got? And making a difference. And I think it's a good one.
I know that is brilliant. I can't wait to add it to the endless list of songs that we've got now. It's growing. It's growing. When I first started, I didn't think we'd be having that many, but no, it's absolutely brilliant. And Ali, thank you so much for spending the evening with me. It's been an absolute pleasure, and we're also looking forward to seeing you in a not so distant future. I believe that we are visiting you next month to do a little bit of a special episode. We're launching our YouTube channel, which will air in November. That's the plan for the day in the life of the nursing associate. So we're looking forward to kind of actually physically seeing what you get up to. So that'd be absolutely amazing.
Fantastic. I'll get my lippy on.
And I'll do the same. Yeah. Brilliant.
I would expect no less.
Yeah, and I'll get my hair done and everything, and it'd be absolutely gorgeous. Fantastic.
Excellent.
Ali, you take care.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. Bye, Martin.
My pleasure. Bye.
Bye.